This guy has officially been confirmed as our new Secretary of Health and Human Services. And the lab-grown meat industry is kind of freaking out. In case you didn't already know, lab-grown meat, aka actual meat cells that you can consume, that didn't involve an actual animal at any point in the process, but was entirely differentiated from stem cells in a laboratory, was officially approved for human consumption in the United States under the Biden administration in 2023, when the USDA gave the green light to upscale restaurants in San Francisco and Washington, D.C. to serve their customers lab-grown chicken products, probably without ever disclosing that on the menu, by the way. Giving their first approval to a company called Upside Foods, which, you guessed it, is backed by this guy, who massively stands to benefit if lab-grown meat becomes the norm, and just a few days ago on a podcast ended up saying this.
So if you can get, say, beef or pork to be made this way, amazingly, that would even help with things like deforestation.
Basically reiterating the same argument that most proponents of lab-grown meat repeat over and over again, that it's more sustainable for the environment, it lowers carbon emissions, even though pretty much every preliminary study like this one out of UC Davis has proven that actually lab-based meat has a carbon emission output 4 to 25 times greater than the average for a normal retail beef. Even beyond the completely faulty environmental argument, people who've been paying attention to this growing industry for years have been sounding the alarm. Scientists are really concerned about the health implications for humans when we consume something that came entirely from stem cells. And who's been sounding the alarm louder than anyone since 2022 about the dangers of lab-grown meat? You guessed it, RFK. So now, lobbying organizations on behalf of these companies are coming up with a brand new strategy for how to gaslight the Trump administration into approving more lab-grown meat, like emphasizing a pro-business argument to make more jobs, and highlighting that the Department of Defense has already given more than $500 million in funding under the Biden administration to create biomanufactured proteins. So it's also a national security issue. Can someone call Elon or Big Balls and get somebody on that from Doge like right away? Regardless of how we got here, you will never catch me or anyone paying attention to this industry on my deathbed agreeing to eat lab-grown meat. And between the insane labeling laws in the US making it possible for meat from all over the world to be labeled as a product of the USA, the seed oil-ridden horribly bad for you plant-based alternatives, and now lab-grown meat, you will never catch me buying my meat from anywhere else other than Good Ranchers, which goes out of their way to source actually healthy meat from real American family ranches right here in the United States. Now that there's a new sheriff in town, I am begging this man to revoke any approval for lab-grown meat in America because it's 2025. We know better.